has reportedly ordered its domestic airlines to stop accepting deliveries of Boeing jets and to halt purchases of aircraft parts.
It's airplanes. They had a big problem with one, but they make the greatest airplanes. They make the best airplanes in the world. They had the problem with one.
Boeing says it's operating in what it considers the most complex environment it's seen since World War II, from record demand for commercial jets and defense platforms to strains in the supply chain.
Boeing was untouchable. Look up at any sky anywhere in the world and you'd probably see one of their jets cutting through the clouds. For decades, the name meant power, trust, and American dominance, but that empire is cracking. Tariffs have locked Boeing out of its biggest market. Rivals are closing in fast. Safety scandals have airlines second-guessing every order. And now, nearly 50 finished jets worth billions are just sitting in storage with nowhere to go. This isn't a minor setback. This is a giant on the edge. So what happened? How did the world's most iconic aircraft maker lose control of the skies? And more importantly, can it ever get that control back? Or is this the beginning of the end? April 2025. That's when everything went sideways for Boeing. The Trump administration slapped massive tariffs on Chinese goods, some as high as 145%. It was supposed to pressure Beijing into playing fair on trade, but China doesn't back down easily. They fired back, and their target was one of America's most iconic companies. Beijing told Chinese airlines to freeze all Boeing deliveries. No new planes, no spare parts, nothing. For Boeing, this was a nightmare. China is one of their biggest customers, and suddenly that door slammed shut. Reports started coming out about nearly 50 Boeing jets just sitting in storage. These weren't cheap planes gathering dust. Each one cost hundreds of millions of dollars. That's billions tied up in metal and tech with nowhere to go. Some of those jets were even sent back to Seattle. Imagine building something that massive, only to watch it come right back because nobody wants it anymore. Boeing scrambled to find new buyers. India got mentioned as a possible option, but selling 50 planes on short notice isn't exactly easy. Then in May, there was a brief moment of relief. A 90-day tariff deal gave Boeing some breathing room, and the freeze lifted temporarily. But the damage was already done. Airlines were spooked, investors were nervous, and Boeing learned a hard lesson. When you're caught between two superpowers throwing punches, you're the one who bleeds. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was Beijing telling Washington that trade wars have real consequences. While Boeing was scrambling, Airbus saw an opportunity. The European aircraft maker has been Boeing's biggest rival for decades, and right now they're playing their cards perfectly. Here's the thing, Airbus doesn't put all its eggs in one basket. They've got factories spread across Europe, and here's the kicker. They have a plant in Alabama. That means planes built there dodge those brutal tariffs that are crushing Boeing. American airlines can buy Airbus jets without getting hit with a 200% tax bill. In a trade war, that's basically a superpower. But Airbus isn't just winning in America. They're doubling down in China too. Reports say they're opening a second assembly line in Tianjin by late 2025. That's huge. It's part of their in China for China strategy, and it's working. Right now, over 2,200 Airbus planes are flying in Chinese skies. That's about 55% of the market. Boeing's slice keeps shrinking, and despite all the supply chain chaos hitting everyone, Airbus says they'll deliver more than 820 planes this year. That's up from last year. They're managing the mess better than anyone expected. For airlines trying to decide where to put their money, Airbus is starting to look like the safe choice. They're stable, they're reliable, they're not caught up in political drama. Boeing built its reputation on trust, but when that trust starts cracking, customers notice, and right now they're noticing Airbus instead. Now here's where things get really interesting. For years, nobody outside China took COMAC seriously. This is China's homegrown aircraft maker, and their big jet, the C919, was always getting delayed. People figured it could never compete with Boeing or Airbus, but that's changing fast. With Boeing frozen out, Chinese airlines need planes from somewhere, and Beijing is pushing pushing hard for them to buy local. The government wants COMAC to become a real player, and they're willing to back it with serious money. The timing couldn't be better for COMAC. They've got over 1,000 orders sitting on the books, mostly from Chinese carriers who are now being told to support their own. But here's the problem. COMAC is struggling to actually build the planes. In the first half of 2025, they only delivered 5 aircraft. 5. They were supposed to hit 75 for the whole year, but that got slashed down to just 25. Why? Because the C919 still depends on Western parts. The engines come from a US-French partnership. The avionics are from Honeywell. When the US slapped export bans on key components back in May, COMAC's production basically froze. So yeah, COMAC is rising, but it's not exactly soaring yet. They're caught in the same mess as everyone else. The difference is, they've got the Chinese government behind them, and that kind of support can move mountains. Give them a few years, and this underdog might actually become a serious threat. If the tariff war was Boeing's only problem, they might have survived. But it's way worse than that. January 2024, that's when everything started falling apart. An Alaska Airlines flight took off, and mid-air, a door plug just blew out. Passengers were literally staring at the sky through a gaping hole in the fuselage. Thankfully, nobody got seriously hurt, but the damage to Boeing's reputation, that was catastrophic. Investigators found missing bolts. Quality control had failed. Then the whistleblowers started coming forward. One guy, Sam Salahpour, dropped bombshell claims about defects in the 787 and 777 models. He said corners were being cut and safety was being ignored. The FAA didn't mess around. They capped Boeing's production at just 38 planes a month. That's down from 45. And every plane not built is money lost. Then came the strikes. In late 2024, machinists walked off the job for 2 months. Production stopped. Boeing was bleeding over $6 billion every quarter. They delayed the 777X again. Now it won't arrive until 2026. And they announced massive layoffs. 17,000 workers gone. Oh, and the legal troubles. Boeing pled guilty to criminal fraud charges. The DOJ is still investigating, and rejected plea deals keep piling up. Their stock dropped 30% in 2024 alone. Investors are scared. Airlines are hesitant. This isn't just bad luck. This is a company drowning in its own mistakes while the world watches. Here's something most people don't realize. No plane is truly made in one country. A Boeing jet might be American, but the engines could come from the UK, the electronics from Japan, the titanium from Russia, and the seats from Germany. Airbus is the same way. Wings built in one place, cockpit in another, final assembly somewhere else. For years, this global puzzle worked perfectly. Everyone knew their role, and planes kept rolling out. But that system is breaking down. The pandemic hit first. Factories shut down, ships sat in ports, workers got laid off. When things finally reopened, the rhythm was gone. It's like trying to restart an old machine after years of sitting. Everything's slow and nothing clicks like it used to. Boeing and Airbus both started missing deadlines because one tiny part was stuck halfway across the world. Then politics made it worse. Countries started asking tough questions. Why should the US rely on Russian titanium? Why should Europe depend on China for rare metals? And China's thinking the same thing in reverse. Why buy foreign planes when we could build our own? It's not just about materials anymore. It's about power. Whoever controls the supply chain controls the future. Airlines feel this every day. Imagine ordering 50 jets and being told you'll wait years because one component is delayed. That costs millions. Passengers see it too. Canceled flights, higher ticket prices, the dream of one connected global aviation network, that's fading fast, and nobody knows how to fix it. Boeing isn't just another company. For decades, the name meant something. It meant American engineering, power, and trust. Airlines lined up to buy their jets. Governments counted on them them for defense contracts. Wall Street saw them as rock solid, but today that image is crumbling, and the question everyone's asking is simple: can Boeing actually come back from this? They brought in a new CEO, Kelly Ortberg, and handed him an impossible job. He's supposed to fix quality control, win back customer trust, navigate trade wars, and keep Wall Street happy, all at the same time. That's like trying to steer a sinking ship while passengers are jumping overboard. Every decision he makes gets scrutinized by 3 different groups pulling in 3 different directions. Here's the brutal truth: airlines don't just buy planes, they buy confidence in a company's future. If they sense trouble, they shift their orders somewhere safer. And that's exactly what's happening. Airbus has a backlog so massive they can barely keep up. COMAC is quietly filling more domestic orders. Boeing, they're fighting just to prove they can still deliver. Then there's the political side. Boeing gets dragged into battles it can't control. Trade war with China, Boeing takes the hit. Sanctions on Russia, Boeing takes the hit. Even changes in US policy from one administration to the next create chaos. For a company building planes designed to last 30 years, that kind of instability is poison. Boeing's fall from the top shows how fast even giants can crumble. Tariffs, safety scandals, and rivals like Airbus and COMAC have turned the aviation world upside down. For decades, Boeing owned the skies, but now it's fighting just to stay relevant. This isn't only about planes, it's about trust, power, and survival in a world that's tearing itself apart. The skies aren't Boeing's anymore. Airbus is expanding everywhere. COMAC is waiting for its moment. And Boeing? It's at a crossroads. The real question isn't if things will change, it's whether Boeing can change fast enough before it's too late.